Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to the law, your money, and you. I am Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts, USA, because we're getting people from all over the world now. And my wonderful co-host, producer, creator. This is our what, 12th year?
Yes, it is. Imagine that.
Okay.
So hi, everybody. I'm Camille Barron, and I'm a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also from Sharon, Massachusetts, US, world. And we have a return guest because when we had her on the last time, there was just such a wealth of information that she was sharing with us that we knew there was more.
And we not only got emails to have her back, but my phone was ringing off the hook. So welcome, Melissa, attorney Melissa Victor, who has a practice in Easton, Massachusetts, and is so knowledgeable, and everybody received her so wonderful. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward to part 2. I think we might have to have part 3, part 4.
Yeah, the things keep going on and on and on.
Yes.
Well, maybe we can just begin, Melissa, with just a quick review of some of the things you covered the last time, so that people will have a frame of reference in case they didn't see that episode yet.
Okay, so I'm an estate planning and elder law attorney in Easton. My practice mostly consists of creating estate planning, for instance, wills, revocable, irrevocable trusts, and also helping people prepare prior to, God forbid, entering a nursing home, and then unfortunately doing emergency planning for those people who may not have planned in advance and now have to go into a nursing facility. So my job really is to try to protect assets for loved ones, either after death or in the event that somebody does need long-term care.
You know, Melissa, I work in the insurance industry, health insurance and Medicare, and a lot of our clients, as you know, as intelligent and worldly as they are, they're surprised when they find out that Medicare does not cover long-term care.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about the types of planning, estate planning, that can help people to be positioned against losing assets? Now, people who can afford long-term care, they have it or they are willing to buy it. But for people who, say, might have health issues and they maybe can't get long-term care insurance, what else do you recommend?
So a couple of things. First off, a long-term care insurance is great, but as many people have shopped it, realize that it gets way more expensive as you get older. So I actually had a gentleman in my office yesterday who purchased long-term care with his wife at 59, and the premium was very reasonable. It was about $2,000 something. So obviously the earlier you get it, the less expensive it's going to be. When you get into your early 70s, it does become rather expensive. So the earlier, the better. Let's talk a little bit about Medicare, because people do get confused with this. So if you go from a 3-day stay in a hospital to a rehab facility, Medicare may cover up to 100 days. And so they usually cover day 0 to 20 in full. And then from 20 to 100, there are different copays, etc. The problem is that a lot of times Medicare really doesn't pay the full 100 days because you have to be rehabable. And so if you plateau, and even though you're willing to do rehab, if you plateau and they don't think that you're going to get any better, they cut you off of Medicare, and then you become a private pay patient. And that's when people either have to spend down their own money, or if they are broke or planned properly, they can apply for Medicaid, which in Massachusetts we refer to as Mass Health. Okay. And so ways to protect your assets really, and this is where we get into, Roberta, the 5-year look back period that you and I kind of were talking about before. So a lot of people don't understand what is the 5-year look back period. So the 5-year look back period only comes into effect if you are in a nursing home and you apply for Medicaid. Okay, this is when you're telling the state, hey, we don't have enough money to pay, so we're looking for the state to pay through Medicaid. And so when you fill out,
excuse me, they can't touch the person's residence. From what I understand, that does not count in the 5-year.
Well, so yes and no, yes and no.
Okay.
So on the application, one of the boxes says, have you made any transfers in the past 5 years? The logic being is that they don't want you to give your money away today and then tomorrow go into a nursing home and say, okay, I'm broke. So they have the ability to look back 5 years worth of your records to see if in fact you've made any gifts, okay? And that's where the 5-year look back period comes in. It only comes in if you're applying for Medicaid. As far as the house, if you are married and your spouse goes into the nursing home, the at-home spouse that's still living at the house can keep the house and they won't put a lien on it so long as that house is deeded to the at-home spouse individually, okay? So what that means is people really need to have a power of attorney in place. A power of attorney is a document that says if you can't make financial decisions, you name somebody to do that for you. So as an example, if your husband goes into a nursing home and he has Alzheimer's and we need to transfer the deed from the husband and wife to the wife, we can't use husband's signature because he has Alzheimer's. But if they prepared powers of attorney in advance, the wife could sign the deed on his behalf as power of attorney and transfer it to her, and then they won't put a lien on it, okay? Now with single people, they let you keep the house to get on Medicaid, but they will put a lien on it so that after you pass away and your heirs sell the house, they're entitled to reimbursement, or they can force you to put it up for sale. So single people is a little different than a married couple.
So what happens, you put the house up for sale, you're never coming back there for whatever reason, the wife passes on, you put the house up for sale and you sell it. What happens? That money goes to the state now? Or
so what happens is when they approve you for Mass Health, they file a notice of intent to lien on your property. When you sell the house, you would need to notify Medicaid and you would have to pay back probably the amount that's owed, and then you're going to become private pay because now you have all this money. You can't show that you're broke.
Away then? You
can't because there's that 5-year look back period. So you can't sell the house and give the money away because that's a gift. So anything that you do less than fair market value is considered a gift. For instance, you can't just give your child the house for $1. Unless 5 years passes, that's going to be considered a gift. So unless that child pays fair market value, it's considered a gift.
Oh,
and if the house if it's owned by an irrevocable trust instead of the individuals or the spouse, then what?
Good question. So if it's owned by an irrevocable trust, that is an approved Medicaid protection trust by the way it's drafted, after 5 years from creation of the trust, it will not be counted as an accessible asset to Mass Health. However, I have to caveat this because Mass Health has tried to come down on irrevocable trust. So we've had to appeal a lot of those folks that did irrevocable trust and go into a nursing home. And even though 5 years has passed, Mass Health has time and time again tried to deny the person from getting Medicaid. And happy to say that 99% of those appeals have been won, but there has been a lot of case law recently on this matter. So what Mass Health—
On what grounds?
So that's a good question. So the grounds are that technically in the trust, it says you have no right to principal, meaning that if you had a CD in the name of this trust and that CD was getting 2%, right? 2% would be $2,000, which is the interest. You, the creator of the irrevocable trust, can have that interest, but you can't touch the principal, which is that $100,000. So in the trust, it specifically says you can't touch the principal. But what Mass Health does is they take the trust as a whole, and they might read into some terminology that's in the trust and say, well, that gives you the right to principal. For instance, if you have a clause in the trust that says the trustee is entitled to reasonable compensation, Mass Health has argued that the person who created the trust, unless the language is in there saying they can't be the trustee, can be appointed as the trustee and then take reasonable compensation and use that money for their care. So they've tried to look into each paragraph in the trust and say, well, if you can do this, then that means you can touch the principal. And of course, some of those have been, shot down, and some of them haven't.
Sure.
So we really have to draft our irrevocable trust, in a way that there is no question on the fact that the client can't touch the principal.
Yeah, and Medicaid is under a great deal of pressure because ever since the pandemic started, the Medicaid claims have skyrocketed compared to what they were before.
Right. Correct.
What if the person has long-term care and they sell their house? Can they do they have to go by a 5-year rule there?
Well, no. So long-term care insurance has a special rule by statute. I believe it says if you have a policy that has a minimum 2-year coverage at $125 a day, and you go through those long-term care benefits, and now, you need to use money to pay for your care, that they can't put a lien on your house. And the idea is that you've done something to try to pay for your care. So the rule says they can't put a lien on your property.
And is that under the long-term care partnership?
Yes, I believe so.
Go
ahead, Roberta. What?
It's something called the long-term care partnership. We have it in Massachusetts, and I think a number of other states have it.
Right.
Where exactly what Melissa said, if you have long-term care insurance, then I don't know if the state cannot, or there's some rules where they can't really access your assets.
Right. So the rule says that they can't put a lien. What's that, Roberta?
What if you sell the house and you've got long-term? The proceeds of the house, can you give those away?
I believe you can, because they can't put a lien on the property. I'd actually have to check that. I haven't had a case like that at all, but I know that they can't put a lien on the property. Now, when you sell it, I guess it depends on, the rest of the terminology of the statute, which may not necessarily be clear on that. I know it says that they can't put a lien on the property, meaning that when you go to sell, you don't have to notify, Medicaid. So I think it will depend on whether or not the person is married or not, because obviously if the deed is titled in the at-home spouse and he or she sells it, there is no lien on that. And if the person's single, it becomes different. So those one of those things that don't come up very often. So it's one of those things that we as attorneys might, reach out to other attorneys. Like I'm a member of NALA, which is the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. And every day we have a listserv where we, write questions to each other or, ask if anybody had certain things. So that's one of those.
What about, I've always wondered this. You got somebody who, especially there's all kinds of homes popping up every day. What if you're in there and you're paying, and then all of a sudden you don't have any money and you don't have any relatives and you have nothing? What do they do with that person?
So basically, the nursing home itself can apply for Medicaid. And a lot of times these do happen where the nursing home will be appointed as the person's conservator or guardian in the probate court, and then, be able to make decisions on behalf of that person.
Where do they put this guy? They used to put him in Mattapan.
No. So they could be in a regular nursing home and they could apply for Medicaid. And a lot of times the nursing home will make the application for, the person in the facility if nobody's able to. And, and then they will apply for Mass Health, and then the person should be able to get on Mass Health if, so long as they have no assets.
Interesting. So make sure you give away all the money before you go in.
Well, I always say the last check you should write should be to the funeral company, and it should bounce.
I like that. Years ago, very interesting, especially in New England, when you ride around, you see these old little cemeteries, which doesn't instill mourning in you or death, and it instills. Look at this. You got these homes and everything, and then in between you got these 1600 burial and 16. Because what they used to do was they used to just bury the people on their own land.
Yes, that does happen. So you'll see a lot of family cemeteries
Yeah,
around in somebody's backyard.
And then also, people, if they had this big lots of land, if they got married, they moved in, they built another house on the same lot, or the people get old, they live one month at this house, 1 month at that house. I mean, everybody must remember some little old lady on a rocking chair when they were 7 or 8 years old. And I remember saying to somebody, oh, that's how I remember my grandmother. You know, I didn't even know her. I said, oh, she must have made the rounds, because that's what I remember too. But anyway,
one of the things that one of the things I just thought of actually that I've seen personally, and also, you know, more recently with COVID, is that, you know, because a lot of the hospitals were filling up with COVID patients, it is, or I mean, not so much now, but was more during COVID, very difficult to get somebody into a nursing home because the beds were filled, you know, so much. And one of the unfortunate things is that if you have somebody that's in a rehab facility and they get cut off of Medicare, you have the social workers and the caseworkers telling, you know, the family, gee, you know, this person needs 24/7 care. So, you know, you need to take them home because they're discharged. And by the way, if you don't take them home, it's, you know, $550 a day, and you need to take them home and they need 24/7 care. And part of the problem is 24/7 care can add up to $18,000 to $20,000 a month. And if they can't find a nursing home bed, these families are really in a tough situation where they may be expected to be able to take care of a family member, you know, 24/7, when that's not realistic. A lot of what I find is a lot of people don't know what benefits are available to them at home, whether it's, if they're a VA, they may be able to get the aid and attendance benefit, whether they qualify for Medicaid at home, which could be the PACE program or frail elder waivers. I don't do much of that with people at home, but, you know, Camille, I don't know if you have a lot of experience in that, but I really think that there should be somebody that could guide people on what type of benefits their loved one, you know, would qualify for in the home.
Right. I mean, we have more experience, of course, with people who have long-term care insurance.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's pretty obvious that they have much more accessible, have much more access to those benefits. But when it comes to the rights that they have, if they do not have those assets and they don't have the insurance, I'm not quite sure either. That's not an area that we specialize in.
Well, so one of the things I find, and I was just talking about this the other day, is those people that have, you know, $1 million or so are okay for long-term care because they really could just private pay for a little while and they have the money. And then those people that are, you know, below, let's say 150,000 or 200,000 or below, really easily we can qualify them for Medicaid. It's those people that are in the middle of that, from, you know, 200,000 to the million, which is majority of America is the middle class. Those people are the ones that really suffer when somebody goes into a nursing home, because they really don't have a lot or enough to pay private, yet they're not broke. So those are the people that really should be pre-planning, because they're the ones that are, you know, could have the most problems in that situation.
Right. That does seem to happen a lot with whether it's long-term care or even other things. We have people who are in states, in the states in the United States that did not accept the federal Medicaid expansion.
Yeah.
There are people who we have, or the children of people we have, who don't qualify for Medicaid because their income is too high, and they don't qualify for the health exchange because their income is too low. They literally have no access. That is a problem. The in-betweeners are really stuck in many cases like the one you described.
Yeah, and that's a majority of my clients. I'm sorry, Roberta.
Is there any agency for them at all, these in-betweeners?
Well, there's there's definitely the Council on Aging and all those different, you know, types of companies. But for Medicaid, you know, it's really difficult. You know, look, we do what the law allows us to do, and there are certain rules that we can follow to get people on mass health. or, Medicaid, by legally following the rules and regulations. But if you have somebody that comes in that sort of has, the $500,000-$600,000, it does become a little difficult.
Raise my hand, Senator. I have two points. One is a point. I've had a lot of people say to me, who planned their retirement, who planned everything, and then said, I didn't think I would live this long because it runs out. And then the other thing is, do you know anything about the other states? Because I've had, especially one who moved the relative to New Hampshire because they said it was easier, there was less this and less that, and I didn't want to go into it, but they actually picked them up out of a nursing home in Massachusetts and put them in one in New Hampshire.
So every state obviously has different Medicaid rules. I would say all of them, there are, they're federally regulated, but then each state can pick up their own rules. So the 5-year look back period is fairly straight, for every state. But recently I was working with somebody in Connecticut, and now Massachusetts has, as a single person, you're only allowed to have $2,000, whereas Connecticut has, you can only have $1,600. So, rules can differ from state to state on how they treat the house. And if somebody, like for instance, in Connecticut, for home health care, usually in Massachusetts, you can't get that if your income is too much. But from what I learned in Connecticut, you can lower your income by paying that extra amount that you're over to what's called a pooled trust, for your benefit, and then you can still qualify for at-home care. So, every state really has different rules, and I couldn't, be an expert certainly on everything. And of course, just like with probate laws and criminal laws, they could be better for the person, or they could be worse.
Well, Camille, you deal with all the states, don't you? I mean, you get people who ask you questions, and you gotta.
Yes, but I couldn't tell you, like, off the top of my head, answer a question about Kentucky or something. But I mean, like Melissa said, there are certain rules that apply across the board, but then states, because Medicaid is a federal and state partnership,
right?
So the states have certain, in fact, they can, when the federal government offered an expansion, some states refused. So we have to do some research if we have somebody in another state.
Right, so each state can limit or expand upon what the federal regulations are. So, maybe in one state, the house might be easier to keep, whereas another state, it's not. So you do have to look at the rules and regulations of each state. And like I said, recently, I've been doing a lot of research on Connecticut and found, it's similar, but every little nuances in each state.
How do you explain to somebody so that they will remember the difference between Medicaid and Medicare?
So I remember somebody said this to me once: Medicare is the state of your health. Medicaid is the state of your wealth.
I like that.
That's what I mean. I think when I used to, Camille, when I just graduated from law school, I went to work for John Hancock, and my first job while I was waiting for the bar results was actually selling long-term care insurance. So I really got a good understanding of how the policies work and what they're good for, and that was a good situation for me. To have that. And so I remember when I was doing seminars, that's how I used to teach Medicare and Medicaid.
Very easy to remember that way.
Yeah,
Medicaid is the state of your wealth, how much money you have.
And see, what I do is really the insurance aspect of Medicaid, not so much the legal. But that's why we like to have partnerships and, talk to people like you, Melissa, because there are things that matter in terms of legal rights and protections, and then what about access to the insurance? And that itself is complicated enough sometimes.
And one of the things I want to also add is, if you have a loved one that goes into a nursing home, and I hate to say this, it's not the nursing home's job to say, hey, you might be able to protect those assets. You really should go see an attorney. Unfortunately, a lot of times they do say, well, no, you have money, you need to spend it down. And then once there's none left, you can get on Medicaid. And so I do have a lot of clients that end up telling me when they come in for themselves, like, gee, we spent, a couple $100,000 on mom's care. And, you know, inside I cringe because I keep thinking, gee, if they just would have reached out to somebody, they may have been able to save a lot of that money legally. Like, nothing that we're going to do is not, you know, is everything that we try to do for a client is within the mass health regulations. For instance, and people might not know this, if your parent goes into a nursing home and if they're single, I think I told you that they can put a lien and, you know, force you to sell the house. But if you have a child, even if they're legally a grown adult, if they're considered disabled by Social Security, then the regulation says that we can legally transfer the house to that disabled child without having a lien put on it. And so a lot of people might not know that. So I just advise people that if you're in that situation, don't listen to anybody else. Go seek out an advice from an attorney. It can't hurt. Worst case scenario is they're going to tell you that you have to spend down the money.
Isn't there a lifetime gift that they can give to their kids or anybody?
Yes. So, but that's for IRS rules. So people do get confused about that too. So under IRS regulations, you could give $15,000 to each person, no matter who it is. Could be the mailman. Okay.
That was years ago.
Right. So it's $15,000. But that's for IRS purposes, meaning you don't have to file a gift tax return if you do that. But for Medicaid purposes, it is a gift and will trigger a 5-year look back period. So there's two different things. Yes, you can give that gift and not pay taxes, but that is going to trigger a 5-year look back period if you apply for Medicaid in the 5 years after you give the gift.
The funny thing is, it used to be a 3-year. I think it was 3 years.
It was until
pretty soon they'll have, because people are living longer.
Yeah.
They'll have a 10-year.
Well, so it was a 3-year if you did gifts and a 5-year for trust. And then, forgive me, I can't remember the date, but a while ago, they did change it to 5 years across the board, whether it was a gift or a trust. Now, of course, there's always talk, you know, in Congress as to whether or not, you know, I always have people call and say, well, I heard they're thinking of changing it to 7 or 10 years. Yes, there's a lot of chatter on that all the time. And so, you know, someday that could happen. And then if you do hear that it's going to change, you get a lot of people that are going to do some planning prior to the change, because normally, you know, it's retroactive. So as long as you plan prior to the change, you'll fall under the old, you know, the old rule.
Yeah, I think we're kind of winding it up, but I think it's good to suggest to all our viewers that they should have their portfolio or whatever, their health and wealth reviewed by people like Camille and Melissa at least once every 2 years, if not every year.
Yeah,
I agree.
So I think we got to.
I think we have to stop. Oh my goodness.
Time flies.
That's a big kidding.
It's all the things that are said, but all the things that are unsaid because we didn't have the time.
So one of the things, Roberta, is if you get questions, they can certainly be forwarded to my email, and I'm happy to answer anybody that has a question or a concern. I'm certainly happy to do that.
We already referred a few to you, and they're very happy.
I appreciate that.
You are excellent.
Thank you.
Great. So our viewers, thank you so much for watching. There's so much, it's hard enough to understand a lot of these things when it's a static process, but it's changing all the time. And it makes it even more essential that we have the advice of the experts. And that's why we're so happy that Melissa was able to join us again today.
Thank you.
And I think she's going to be back, I hope.
Definitely.
So thank you all for watching. If you have any other questions or suggestions about the show, please be in touch, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.
You.
Thank you.
You.